There are exactly two things I love on a Saturday morning: lukewarm coffee in my world's okayest dad mug, and waxing my 1998 Toyota Camry. The old girl, I call her. I was out in the driveway, the mid-morning sun just starting to get serious, a soft rag in my hand. The old girl was, in my humble opinion, a masterpiece of beige late 90s engineering. She had 283,412 miles on the odometer. Her cassette deck, a cassette deck, still worked, provided you thumped the dashboard just right. The champagne beige paint was peeling in a few spots, sure, and the rear bumper had a deep, crescent-shaped dent from a rogue shopping cart at a Piggly Wiggly back in '07. But that dent was history. That dent was character. I was buffing a smudge off the hood, humming a long-forgotten tune by The Offspring, when a shadow fell across the driveway. It was a sharp, thin shadow, and it was accompanied by the faint, angry yapping of a creature that exists in a perpetual state of nervous rage. I sighed, not turning around. "Morning, Brenda." "Mark." The voice was as crisp and welcoming as a foreclosure notice. I slowly straightened up, wincing as my back popped. There she was. Brenda, our neighborhood's self-appointed HOA president, dictator, and supreme guardian of all things beige. She was wearing her standard uniform: a crisp white tennis visor, a pink polo shirt tucked aggressively into khaki shorts, and a clipboard. She was walking, or rather being angrily dragged by, a small, trembling dog that looked like a wad of dryer lint had been struck by lightning. His name was, I kid you not, Sir Reginald. "Sir Reginald," I nodded, like a normal person. "He's very agitated this morning," Brenda said, yanking the leash. "He can't stand visual pollution. It distresses him." I looked at my car. I looked back at the vibrating dog. "Visual pollution?" Brenda tapped her pen on her clipboard. It was a loud, obnoxious click-clack that set my teeth on edge. "Mark, we've talked about this. That thing is still in your driveway." I looked down at the rag in my hand, then back at her. "Morning, Brenda," I repeated, a little firmer. "Sir Reginald, I'm just giving the old girl a buff. She's earned it. We just passed 283,000 miles. "That's not a milestone, Mark. That's a cry for help," she snapped. Her nose wrinkled, as if she'd just smelled bad milk. "I am trying to be neighborly here. You know the Millers are trying to sell. We have standards in this community. And that junk." I stopped buffing. The music in my head stopped. Even the birds seemed to go quiet. "What did you call her?" "I called it what it is. It's junk. It's an eyesore. It's rusted. It's peeling. The hubcap on the rear passenger side is from a different make and model. It's dragging down my property value with every passing second it sits here, advertising your frugality." This woman, whose own house was painted a shade of taupe so boring it could be used as an anesthetic. This woman, whose lawn was an unnatural, chemically enforced green carpet where no child had ever been allowed to play. "It's not junk, Brenda," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "It's a classic. It's reliable." "It's a clunker," she retorted, her voice rising. "My sister's kid's battery-operated Power Wheels has more curb appeal. It's a blight. And frankly, I'm done being neighborly." With a flourish, she ripped a piece of paper from her clipboard and thrust it at me. It wasn't a request. It was an official violation notice. Homeowners Association. Notice of violation. Article 4, Section 2B. Unkempt, Derelict vehicles. Description: vehicle, beige, year 1998, Toyota Camry, junk, is in a state of disrepair. Peeling paint, visible rust, and mismatched parts constitute an unsightly presence in violation of community aesthetic standards. You have 14 days to remedy the situation, she said, her voice dripping with smug triumph. 14 days to get rid of it. Or we will, and we'll start the fines. Get rid of it? I was sputtering. Brenda, I drive this car. This is my car. Then I suggest you park it in your garage, she said. My wife's car is in the garage. Then I suggest you build a bigger garage, she smiled, a thin reptilian stretching of the lips. Or, and this is just a thought, you could buy a car from the current millennium. 14 days, Mark. Have a lovely Saturday. She turned, her visor catching the sun, and marched off, Sir Reginald yapping in angry agreement, leaving me standing in my own driveway, holding a piece of paper that had just condemned my best friend. Junk, I whispered, looking at the old girl. Her beige paint seemed to dull a little, as if she'd heard. Derelict. I looked at the notice. I looked at Brenda's retreating, khaki-clad backside. A small, dark, and deeply petty seed began to germinate in the recesses of my mind. 14 days, I said to the car. She wants us to remedy the situation. I slowly folded the notice and tucked it into my back pocket. A slow, dangerous smile crept onto my face. Okay, I said, patting the hood. Let's give her a remedy. I spent the next 2 hours in what I can only describe as a state of blind, impotent rage. I finished waxing the car with furious circular motions. I vacuumed the interior. I even armor-alled the dash until it was dangerously reflective. All the while, Brenda's words echoed in my head. Junk, derelict, eyesore, get rid of it. By the time my best friend Dave rolled up in his obnoxious lifted truck, I was sitting in my garage, staring at the HOA notice, which I had unfolded and taped to my workbench like a most wanted poster. Dude, what's up? Dave said, grabbing a beer from my garage fridge. You look like you just found out your favorite band was secretly Nickelback. I just pointed at the notice. Dave, beer in hand, leaned in to read it. He squinted. He read it again. And then he burst out laughing. A deep, barking, unhelpful laugh. Junk? She called the old girl junk? He howled, wiping a tear from his eye. That's brutal, man. Actually, that's hilarious. It's not hilarious, Dave, I snapped, snatching the paper back. She's fining me. She's telling me I have to get rid of my car that I own. This is America, isn't it? I thought this was America. Whoa, easy there, Braveheart. What are you gonna do? I don't know. I paced the concrete floor. My wife, Sarah, just says to park it in the garage. Let her win. But I can't, man. It's the principle. Yeah, Sarah's smart, Dave said, taking a swig. But the principle is way more fun. You should get a car cover, a really ugly one. Like, with flames on it, or maybe one of those ones that looks like a different, worse car. No, she'll just fine me for the cover. Violation. Tacky tarp. Okay. What if you just take it apart? Piece by piece. Leave it in the driveway. It's not a car, Brenda. It's a project. She's got a clause for that. Vehicles in a state of active disassembly. I'm telling you, this woman thought of everything. I sat on a stool, defeated. She wants it out of the driveway. She wants it gone. What am I supposed to do? Well, Dave said, leaning back, if she wants it out of the driveway, just park it on the lawn. Right in the middle. Assert dominance. Dave, I swear, did you even read the notice? Article 5. No vehicles, trailers, or wheeled conveyances of any kind may be parked or stored on non-paved surfaces i.e., lawns, flower beds, or pedestrian walkways. Man, this lady. I know. I put my head in my hands. I'm trapped. She's got me. We sat in silence for a minute. The only sound was the hum of the fridge, and Dave thoughtfully tapping his beer can against his teeth. You know, Dave said slowly, my cousin's buddy got in trouble for an old boat in his yard. They told him he couldn't have a derelict vehicle. So you know what he did? What? He filled it with dirt and planted geraniums in it. Called it a nautical-themed planter. HOA couldn't do squat. I looked up. A planter? Yeah, see, it wasn't a boat anymore. It was lawn art. A tiny, flickering light bulb went on in my head. I looked at Dave. Dave, you're a genius. I know, but why this time? Wait, don't move. I scrambled from the stool and ran to the rickety metal shelving unit in the corner of the garage, the one overflowing with old paint cans, half-empty bags of potting soil, and forgotten instruction manuals. And there it was, my white whale, the bane of my home-owning existence, the Covenant. It was a 3-inch white 3-ring binder. The Meadows at Oak Creek, Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions. 300 pages of single-spaced legalese-choked misery. Brenda had given it to us at closing with a terrifyingly bright smile. I slammed the binder on the workbench, dust motes dancing in the air. She's got a rule for everything, right? So she must have a rule for lawn art. I flipped through the pages. My fingers flew past mailbox height and color, acceptable shrubbery, and holiday decoration timelines, non-sectarian only. Come on, come on. Lawn, I muttered. Here, Article 9, lawn ornaments, sculptures, and other decorations. I scanned the page, my heart starting to pound. Blah, blah, blah. All decorations must be maintained in good condition, must not produce noise or light. Okay, here. I jabbed my finger at Section 9, Subsection 2. Article 9, Section 2, I read aloud, my voice trembling with giddy discovery. Homeowners are permitted 1. Major lawn ornament or sculpture, not to exceed 15 feet in height, provided it is mounted on a permanent, professionally installed foundation. Dave, who had come to look over my shoulder, squinted at the text. So? She's not going to let you call your car a sculpture. She just called it junk. A slow, maniacal grin spread across my face. It was the kind of grin that would make a Bond villain nervous. She did, didn't she? I said, my voice barely a whisper. She called it a derelict vehicle, a clunker, junk. She said I had to get rid of it. Yeah, Dave said, his own eyes widening as he caught on. So what if I do? What if it's not a derelict vehicle anymore? What if it's not a vehicle at all? I looked from the binder to the driveway, where the old girl was gleaming, innocently beige. What if it's art? Sarah walked into the garage, holding a laundry basket. Mark? Dave? I'm making sandwiches. Do you want... She stopped, looking at the manic expressions on our faces. Oh no, what's happening? Mark, what's that look? That's your I'm going to try to deep fry a whole turkey in the house again look. Honey, I said, holding up the Covenant like a holy text. Brenda said the old girl was junk. I know, honey, she's awful. Just park it in the garage. I'll park on the street. It's fine. No, Sarah, you don't understand. I tapped the binder. She called it junk. But Article 9 says I'm allowed to have a sculpture. Sarah's eyes darted between me and Dave. Mark, you can't just park it on the lawn and call it a sculpture. That's not how it works. I'm not going to park it, sweetheart. I'm going to mount it on a permanent, professionally installed foundation. And I'm not just going to call it a sculpture. I'm going to make it a sculpture. Brenda wants it gone? Fine. The car will be gone. In its place will be a beautiful, stationary, permanent piece of art. Dave clapped his hands together. Dude, yes, you're gonna put it on a pedestal, like a hunting trophy. Exactly. But better, I said, the plan forming at lightning speed. She hates it because it's peeling and unsightly. Fine, we'll fix that too. We'll make it so sightly it hurts to look at. We'll make it the shiniest, most beautiful thing this neighborhood has ever seen. Sarah just sighed, shaking her head. Mark, this is insane. You're going to spend thousands of dollars just to annoy a woman you don't like? Yes, I said, my voice full of righteous conviction. Yes, I am. But what are you going to do to it? I looked past her, out the garage door, at the sun glinting off the piggly wiggly dent. I'm gonna chrome it, I said. The whole damn thing. The next Monday was a blur. I called in sick. I had a feeling my illness was going to be a project that required a high-interest personal loan. My first call was not to a body shop, but to a mason. I found Tony's Toughcrete and Masonry in the phone book, which felt appropriately old school for this project. A gruff voice answered on the second ring. Tony's. Hi, I said, trying to sound as normal as possible. I need a quote. I'm looking to get a concrete pedestal built in my front yard. There was a pause. A pedestal, Tony grunted. Like for a bird bath? A sundial? What, like 3x3? 4x4? Bigger, I said, looking at my measurements. Much bigger. I'm thinking 15 feet long, about 6 feet wide. 15 by 6? Tony sounded suspicious. What the hell you putting on that? A prefab shed? No, nothing like that. And I need it tall. Say 4 feet off the ground, reinforced. Needs to be able to hold, let's say, 3,000 pounds. Safely. Forever. There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. I could hear him breathing. Buddy, are you building a mausoleum? Is this for a joke? Who is this? No, I'm serious. It's for a sculpture. A 3,000-pound sculpture? You got a giant bronze horse coming in? What is it? I took a deep breath. It's a 1998 Toyota Camry. I have never heard a grown man sigh so deeply. It sounded like a tire deflating. A Camry. You're gonna put a car on a throne in your front yard. It's an art project, I said quickly. Look, I know it's weird, but I'll pay cash. Half up front, half on completion. And I need the permit to just say concrete foundation for lawn sculpture, which is technically the truth. Another long pause. Then I heard him yell to someone in the background. Hey, Vinny, get the rebar. This guy wants a car thrown. He came back on the line. Look, kid, I've been doing concrete for 30 years. I've built retaining walls. I've built panic rooms. I've built a foundation for a guy's life-size giraffe statue once. I ain't never built a car throne. But cash is cash. My guys will be there Wednesday to break ground. And you're nuts. He hung up. I pumped my fist. Phase 1 was a go. My next call was even harder. I found a place across town called Mix Custom Chrome and Plating. It looked like the real deal. I figured I couldn't just call. This I had to do in person. I drove the old girl over, her beige paint seeming to know this was her last voyage. The shop was a giant corrugated metal building that smelled of solvents and ozone. A guy in grease-stained overalls, with a magnificent gray handlebar mustache, wiped his hands on a rag as I walked in. "Help ya?" he grunted. Hi, I'm Mick? That's me. What are we doing? Bumper on that classic out there? Rims? Ah, no, I said, wringing my hands. More than that. I need a quote. A quote for what? A new paint job? No. I want to chrome plate it. Mick stopped wiping. He looked at me. He looked out the bay door at my beige Camry. He looked back at me. You want to chrome the Camry? The whole car? Yes. Son, he said, you want a wrap. A vinyl wrap. I can call the guy. Makes it look like chrome. Shiny. No, Mick, I said, stepping closer. Not a wrap. I want it plated. I want it dipped. I want it to look like a hood ornament, but, you know, the whole car. Mick actually spat his coffee out onto the concrete floor. Plate it? The whole, kid, do you have any idea what that costs? Do you know the process? You're talking about taking the whole car apart, stripping every bit of paint, grinding every panel, dipping it in copper, then nickel, then chrome. That's more than the car is worth. It's 10 times what that car is worth. I know. You do know? He was flabbergasted. Mick, this car is very special to me. She's not for driving anymore. She's for display. I need her stripped, gutted, engine out, interior out, fluids drained. I want her to be a perfect, chrome-plated shell. I want to be able to see my face in the fender. I want it to be blinding. Mick stared at me for a good 30 seconds. His mustache twitched. A slow grin spread across his face. You're building a monument, aren't you? You could say that. This is the stupidest, most glorious, most insane thing I have ever heard in my life, he said, clapping a heavy hand on my shoulder. I love it. It's going to take 3 weeks. We'll have to do it in pieces. Fenders, doors, the main unibody. It's going to be a nightmare. But, yeah, we can do it. It's going to be biblical. I drove home in a rental. A soulless silver Hyundai Elantra. It felt like a betrayal. Wednesday morning, Tony's Toughcrete crew arrived. A cement mixer, a flatbed with wood forms, and 3 guys who all looked like they were named Vinny. They started by spray painting a giant 15x6 rectangle on my lawn. It took less than 10 minutes for Brenda to appear. She marched across her lawn, Sir Reginald vibrating at the end of his leash. Mark! What is this? What is going on? Morning, Brenda, I said, sipping my coffee from the porch. It's Wednesday. I can see that. What is this construction? You're digging up your lawn. That's a violation. That's a definite violation of lawn integrity. It's not a violation, Brenda, I said, pulling a folded piece of paper from my pocket. I'd gone to City Hall on Monday. It's a fully permitted project. Handed her the permit. She snatched it. Foundation for lawn sculpture? She read, her voice a high-pitched squeak. A sculpture? What sculpture? It's a surprise, Brenda, I said, giving her my most accommodating smile. But I think you'll appreciate it. It's very aesthetic. Now, if you'll excuse us, Tony and his men have a lot of art to make. Don't want to get in the way of the artistic process. Brenda's face went through an impressive range of colors, from pale white to blotchy red. She was sputtering, but she had no words. The permit was official. The box was checked. She couldn't do a thing. She just stood there, clutching the permit, as Vinny 1 and Vinny 2 plunged their shovels into my pristine lawn, beginning the excavation for the car throne. For the next 2 weeks, my front yard was a glorious mess. Tony's crew was loud, professional, and took great malicious pleasure in waving to Brenda every morning. They built a massive, reinforced wooden form. They laid a grid of rebar inside it that looked like it could support a tank. And then, the cement mixer came. For an entire day, they poured concrete, smoothing the top until it was a perfect, flat, gray slab. A monolith. It was a massive, brutalist 4-foot-tall block of sheer, unadulterated spite, sitting right in the middle of my yard. Brenda, of course, was losing her mind. The car was gone, see? The old girl was at Mick's, undergoing her divine transformation. So for a while, Brenda thought she'd won. The junk was gone. But this was worse. A giant concrete altar to nothing. I saw her on her porch, constantly on her phone. She was calling the city. She was calling the county. She was probably trying to call the governor, which led to interaction number 3, the city inspector. He was a man named Frank. Frank looked like he'd been born tired. He drove a white Ford Focus with a city logo on the side, and he walked up to my house with a sigh, his clipboard already in hand. "Mark," he called out, not bothering to come up the walk. "That's me," I said, walking over. "Yeah, Frank, city. Got he checked his clipboard. A series of 17 complaints about an illegal structure, an unpermitted bunker, and a public nuisance of concrete." Brenda was watching, of course. She was on her lawn, arms crossed, trying to look imposing. "Right," I said. "You mean the foundation for a lawn sculpture?" I handed him my copy of the permit. Frank looked at the permit. He looked at the massive 15-by-6-foot concrete pedestal. He looked back at the permit. "Yep, that's a foundation, all right." "It's hideous!" Brenda shrieked from across the yard. "It's a bunker! He's going to build a tool shed on it. It's a violation." Frank, to his everlasting credit, didn't even turn his head. He just raised his voice slightly. "Ma'am, the permit is for a sculpture foundation. This is a foundation. It's not blocking the sidewalk. It's not on a utility easement. It's within the property line setbacks. It's a block of concrete. It's not my job to care if it's ugly." He ticked a box on his clipboard. "Looks good to me. Have a nice day, sir." "Ma'am." He nodded curtly, got in his car, and drove away. I gave Brenda a little wave. Her face looked like a compressed tomato. Defeated by the city, she fell back on her only remaining stronghold. The HOA. That Friday, an emergency HOA meeting notice was taped to every door. Topic: aesthetics, structures, and reevaluating Article 9. The meeting was held in the clubhouse, a sterile beige room that smelled like weak coffee and industrial carpet cleaner. About 30 people showed up, most of them just for the free store-brand cookies. Brenda stood at a podium, a projector screen behind her. She had made a PowerPoint presentation. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," she began, her voice quivering with a rage she was trying to pass off as passion. "It has come to my attention that certain loopholes in our covenant are being exploited, specifically Article 9. She clicked to the next slide. It was a grainy, zoomed-in photo of my concrete slab. A red circle was drawn around it, with an arrow pointing to the words, "Flagrant violation?" This bunker has been erected in our peaceful community. While technically filed as a sculpture foundation, it is a clear and present danger to our neighborhood aesthetics. Old Man Hemlock in the front row, who was already asleep, let out a little snort. "Brenda?" I said, raising my hand. I hadn't dressed up. I was in my normal t-shirt and jeans. "Question." She glared at me. "Yes, Mark?" "What exactly is the violation? Inspector Frank from the city seemed to think it was all above board." "The violation," she said, "is one of spirit. The spirit of the law. That foundation is not in keeping with the earth-tone, natural aesthetic of the meadows at Oak Creek. It's gray, Brenda. Concrete is made of rocks. Rocks are from the earth. That's about as earth-tone as it gets. Besides, it's just the foundation. You haven't even seen the sculpture yet. This caused a murmur. Chatty Cathy from down the street perked up. Ooh, a sculpture. What kind of sculpture, Mark? Is it an eagle? I love eagles. It's a surprise, Cathy, I said. But I promise, it's a classic piece, a very reflective work of art. It speaks to loyalty and shining a light on things. Brenda was fuming. This is not about the art, it's about the structure. I am proposing an emergency addendum to Article 9 to be voted on tonight, that all major lawn sculptures and their foundations must be pre-approved by the Aesthetics Committee. Which was, of course, just her best friend, and a guy who hadn't attended a meeting since 2015. Brenda, I said, standing up, you can't do that. You're trying to change the rules in the middle of the game. My permit was filed and approved by the city and the HOA, by you, before this meeting was ever called. The foundation is built. The art has been commissioned. It's a done deal. You're just mad because you don't know what it is. I know it's going to be tacky, she shrieked. Well, said Dave, who had come along for the cookies. That sounds like a you problem. I, for one, am excited to see this new, shiny addition to the neighborhood. I'm tired of all this beige. It's boring. Brenda called for a vote. It failed, 28-2. Her and her best friend. The neighbors, it turned out, were far more interested in seeing what I was building than in preserving Brenda's beige tyranny. The meeting was adjourned. I walked out, snagging 2 more cookies on my way. Brenda stayed at the podium, her face a mask of thunder. The next day, I got a call from Mick. She's ready, kid, his voice crackled over the phone. And holy mother of pearl, you better bring sunglasses. The day of the unveiling was a Tuesday. I took the day off work. Sarah, who had long since crossed over from disapproving to morbidly curious, also called in a half-day. At 11:00 a.m., the convoy arrived. First was the massive flatbed truck from Mick's Custom Chrome. On it sat a car-shaped object, shrouded under a massive, heavy-duty black tarp. It was strapped down like a priceless artifact. Following it was a large, bright yellow crane. This was not a subtle entrance. This was a circus is in town entrance. Within minutes, the entire neighborhood was outside. Old Man Hemlock, who I was pretty sure was nocturnal, was on his porch in a bathrobe. Chatty Cathy was filming with her phone, already narrating. Kids were on their bikes, skidding to a halt. And then there was Brenda. She stormed out of her front door, Sir Reginald yapping in her arms like a broken squeak toy. She was already on her phone, doubtless to the police, the city, or possibly the National Guard. "Mark!" she screamed, marching right up to the crane operator as he began to deploy the stabilizers. "You can't do this! You're blocking the street! This is an industrial site! Get this equipment out of here!" The crane operator, a huge man with a placid face, just looked down at her. "Got a permit for a sculpture installation, ma'am. Be about 30 minutes. You might want to step back." "I will not step back. I am the HOA pre—" The crane's engine roared to life, drowning her out. It was beautiful. I stood on my porch, feeling like a general surveying a battlefield. Dave was next to me, vibrating with excitement. "This is it, man! This is the Super Bowl!" The crane operator skillfully hooked the straps to rigging points Mick had welded onto the car's frame. Slowly, the straps pulled tight. The tarped object lifted from the flatbed. It was a surreal sight, a car-shaped ghost floating, dangling in the clear morning air. The crane swung it around, a slow, majestic arc over my lawn. The crowd was silent. Phones were raised. Brenda was on the sidewalk, her face puce, screaming into her phone. "Yes! A crane! A giant yellow! I don't know, it's huge!" The crane operator hovered the object directly over the concrete pedestal. He was a true artist, lowering it with millimeter precision. With a soft, final thunk, the old girl, the Phoenix, was home. "Mark," Dave hissed. "The tarp! Do it!" I had a rope. Mick had a flair for the dramatic. I walked out onto my lawn, grabbed the pull cord, and stood in front of the pedestal. I suddenly felt the need to make a speech. "My neighbors!" I shouted, and the crowd quieted down. "For weeks you've wondered, you've watched us build this foundation!" I pointed at Brenda. She froze, phone to her ear. My neighbor Brenda was very concerned about my old car. She said it was junk. She said it was an eyesore. She said it was derelict and needed to be gotten rid of. The crowd murmured. They all knew my car. "Well, Brenda," I said, "I took your notes to heart. I've remedied the situation. It's time to get rid of the old, unsightly car." I grabbed the rope with both hands, and to replace it with art. I yanked the rope. The heavy black tarp slid off the car like silk. The sun, which had been hiding behind a small cloud, chose that exact moment to come out, full blast. It was blinding. The entire neighborhood was washed in a brilliant, star-like reflection. People gasped and threw their hands up to shield their eyes. It was not a car. It was a mirror. It was a supernova. It was my 1998 Toyota Camry, plated in flawless, mirror-finish, spectacular chrome. Every single inch. The body, the bumpers, the side mirrors, the door handles. Even the tires had been sourced from a specialty shop and were plated in chrome. The windows were tinted so dark they were almost black mirrors, reflecting the sky. It was the most beautiful, tacky, absurd, and glorious thing I had ever seen in my life. The silence was total, broken only by a strange sound from Brenda. It was a high-pitched, strangled ee sound, part scream, part gasp, part aneurysm. What? You can't!" she finally shrieked, stumbling back. The sun's rays, collecting on the car's perfectly curved hood, were focusing into a single, concentrated beam of light, hitting her house right on the live, laugh, love sign by her door. I walked over to the pedestal and slapped a pre-made, custom-ordered brass plaque onto the concrete. It read, "The Phoenix, 1998. Mixed media on concrete. Automotive, chrome, spite. Inspired by B, 2025. I present to you the Phoenix," I yelled to the crowd, who, after their initial shock, burst into a mixture of laughter and applause. "A sculpture, a testament to loyalty, a reminder that one man's junk is another man's really, really shiny lawn ornament." Brenda, predictably, was not impressed by my artistic vision. As the neighborhood began its pilgrimage onto my lawn to take selfies, Chrome Car and #Brenda's Bane were already trending on the local community Facebook page, she was back on the phone. This time, I could hear her screaming, "Public safety hazard!" 10 minutes later, the grand finale of our little opera arrived. A police cruiser rolling slowly down the street. 2 officers got out. The first one, the senior guy, had the same born-tired look as Frank the inspector. The second one, a younger guy, looked like he was desperately trying not to laugh. They both immediately put on their sunglasses. "Afternoon, sir," Officer 1 said, approaching me. He didn't look at me. He was just staring at the car. "We got a call about a blinding public nuisance." "You mean my sculpture, officer?" I said, gesturing to the Phoenix. "Just installed it." "Sir," Officer 1 said, sighing, You chrome-plated your car." "It's not a car anymore, officer," I explained patiently. "It's a sculpture. Look." I rapped my knuckles on the hood. "It's a shell. No engine, no fluids, no interior. It's totally inert. Just art, mounted on a permanent foundation, as per HOA rules." "It's a menace!" Brenda shrieked, running over. She had Sir Reginald with her, who was now barking hysterically at his own reflection in the driver's side door. "It's blinding me! Look at it! It's weaponized! The sun! It's reflecting into my windows! I'll be blinded! My dog is traumatized! I'll sue!" Officer 2, the rookie, had to turn away, pretending to cough. Officer 1, bless his heart, adjusted his sunglasses. "Ma'am, it's shiny, I'll give you that. It's very shiny, but it's not illegal to own a shiny thing." But, traffic! It will blind drivers." Officer 1 looked up and down the street. "It's on his property, ma'am. It's set back 30 feet from the road. It's not a traffic hazard. It's not a criminal matter. It's a lawn ornament. A very reflective lawn ornament." "Sir," he said, turning back to me, and I could see the tiniest smile at the corner of his mouth. "Do you plan to drive this?" "No, officer," I said, deadpan. "It's mounted on a 4-foot concrete block." Right, he said, nodding, as if this were a completely normal sentence. "Well, as I said, not a criminal matter. Ma'am," he said to Brenda, "please stop calling 911 for HOA disputes. Have a good day, sir." The 2 officers walked back to their car. The rookie, just before he got in, pulled out his personal cell phone and took a quick, sly picture of the Phoenix. Brenda was defeated. The city had failed her. The HOA had failed her. The police had failed her. She stood on the sidewalk, vibrating with speechless rage. The aftermath was glorious. My house became a local landmark. For the next week, there was a steady stream of people. Teenagers took prom photos with it. A local blogger wrote an article called "The Man Who Out-Karened a Karen." Sarah, my wife, had finally come all the way around. She'd walk out into the morning, shake her head, and say, "You know, Mark, it's actually beautiful. In a really, really weird way. It reflects the sunset." Brenda's last-ditch effort came a week later in another violation notice. Violation, Article 8, Section 4, Exterior Color Palette. Description, structure, Phoenix, is not in compliance with the approved neighborhood earth tone color palette. See Appendix C. Approved beiges, taupes, and mossy greens. I walked right over, notice in hand, and found her weeding her petunias with violent stabbing motions. "Brenda," I said. She stood up, brushing dirt from her hands. "It's coming down, Mark. It's a clear violation. Chrome is not an earth tone. I just smiled. Brenda, chrome isn't a color. It's a reflection, a surface. Technically, my sculpture reflects all the earth tones. See? I pointed. Right now, it's reflecting your mossy green lawn, and your taupe house, and the sky blue sky. If anything, my sculpture is the most compliant thing on the block. It is all the colors. I've never seen a human being malfunction before, but she did. Her mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. She just broke. She turned, marched back into her house, and slammed the door. That was 3 months ago. The phoenix still stands, gleaming. I'm out on my porch, drinking my coffee, admiring it. The local news even did a little human interest story on it. I think I'm a hero to some people. As for Brenda, she finally found a solution. Last week, a landscaping truck arrived at her house. They planted a row of 12-foot-tall, fast-growing, non-native Leyland cypress trees right on her property line. It completely blocks her view of my house and my view of hers. It's a win-win. I have my art, and she has her wall of shrubs. I raise my coffee mug to the sculpture. The old girl, the phoenix, whatever you want to call her, she's not junk. She's a masterpiece. And she gleams, bright as the sun, a permanent, shining monument to the glorious, beautiful, and blindingly petty power of malicious compliance.